OK and the podcast serves as a vessel to bridge the gap between human isolation and connection. We are all going through something. However, what happens when we start sharing our stories? We will be able to connect, heal, and grow. Come with me and my guests on a journey that will uncover their OK and moment. I'm your host, Just Jess. Let's get started. Good morning, good evening, wherever you're listening to this podcast. I'm your host, Jess. Welcome to OKM, the podcast, where we are bridging the gap between human isolation and connection. And welcome back, y'all. I am so excited to not only spend, a good amount of time with y'all, but understanding that we have a special guest on the line with us today. So just one of the best people in my core. She is my laughter buddy. She is the person that can sit here and we can talk about random stuff for literally hours, and then just go about our day. So it's so good to have her on the show. So I want to introduce Dr. L. Yay!
Thank you for that wonderful introduction. I attest to that. You are like one of the biggest treasures in my life as far as like I never expected to find this in a friendship, and I'm so glad that I did. So thank you for that. I just have to put that out there. I know love. As always. You're my sister for life.
Yes,
but
exactly.
As you said, just giving a real brief introduction. I'm Dr. L. The L's for LaQuisha. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist, a licensed professional clinical counselor. So by nature, I'm a mental health advocate.
Yes, and yes. So, Dr. L, thank you so much for being on OK and the podcast. We have so much to cover. We're only 7 days into the year, and there's a ton of material that we can go over. But first, I want to just say, like, how are you? How was your holidays?
Love that. Holidays, great. I always try to make it stress-free, and stress-free for me is doing what I want to. So I enjoy just relaxing, kind of, my thing with my daughter, my family, and keeping it a tight-knit circle. So relaxing.
That's good. I think
that sound like relaxing.
Yeah. I think that was one thing that I took away from just being on break was what are things that I can do to relax, because December was a very interesting month. We'll keep it that. We'll talk about that another day. But knowing that 2023 and then going into 2024, it doesn't feel like it's 2023. It feels like we just got done with 2019 and now we're hopping into 2024, which is kind of insane.
Right. Definitely it seemed like, especially for me, this was like the longest year and it was a tough year. So I'm happy to welcome 2024. Thank you, 2024. I've been manifesting for something different to happen. So like, I'm happy that it's here.
Yes. So what it comes to we're going to get into the random segment and look at, things that were your highlights for 2023, whether it was social or personal. So I want to start with social first, because 2023 brought us some really good gems. And we can go into like the first 7 days of 2024. So what were some highlights for 2023 for you from a social standpoint?
From a social standpoint, like as I think about it as a whole, there was some good, there was some bad. If I think about the bad stuff, it sucks that we still saw like police brutality with, Tyree Nichols and his death. And also too, we saw like, for me, some stuff that like, I'm always rooting for Black love, but I think the Will and Jada relationship, it showed us more than what we wanted to see. Right. So it was that stuff that was happening in the media that kind of shook us up. And I don't want to forget about this one, because this one was a different highlight for me in a sense that like, and of course I'm not advocating for violence, but the Alabama boat brawl, that was a big one, because it was on one hand empowering to see and witness Black people uniting and unifying against kind of, and showing up as a collective strength against, to me, evil at the end of the day of that. So there was those sad moments that kind of happened balanced out with good things like Haley Bailey being like the Little Mermaid and the release of that movie. And as you know, that's what Liberty was for Halloween, and I was a
Mhm,
sea
mhm.
witch. And so even just as I made sure to honor her, I put like braids in Liberty's, like, her red wig, just to highlight that. And then, of course, my big cap for this year, as you and I have been wanting to talk about this for a while, was Beyonce. I thought in the moment of a lot of this stuff that was going on that was just kind of awful too, if you think about like just every like entertainment was hit really hard with some of the news. Beyonce really came and she gave us joy rising, is what I'm gonna say. In a
Rising.
sense, we all kind of just
Mhm.
got happy about it, So that was a highlight as far as socially.
I think for me, because you hit on, so the brawl that took place, it was one of those moments where I truly thought we were about to witness somebody dying yet again. And
Mhm.
so I felt numb to it. But then when I started watching, and it was all the different angles of this particular fight, and you just had like
Right.
the entire social media just came together, and just all these different names that just came out, from dude that
Mhm.
was swimming over to help save the elderly man, to the dude that got knocked because he was trying to help his colleague, but he got knocked
The
in the
dude with the
water.
bear,
Right,
definitely.
right.
Can't forget him.
And the
Uh-huh.
cops, like, it was like a slow brew, like they were watching from a distance, but then once that chair came out, they're like, okay, we gotta put the cup on
Yeah,
somebody,
he
we
took
gotta do
control
something.
of that chair.
Okay, you can't be
Uh-huh.
doing that.
I know. I know. We
But
could laugh about it, but like underneath there were some deeper things that like we saw
oh, for
that
sure.
came that's why I use the word hate, and I'm not promoting violence or in that sense,
Right.
but like you can see where it was hitting a chord with just like the race part of it and the tension that goes along with that.
Yeah, and to be in the South, I mean, that
Yeah.
speaks volumes within itself. So there are times where I'm like, dang, I can't believe that happened. But there are times I'm like, dang, I can't believe that happened in
Right,
in
right.
2023. So which was crazy. I think I want to go to Beyonce, and I want to cook that out a little bit, and I want to take it back to 2022, because
Mm.
knowing that her album came out 2022. I remember I was at my cousin's house. Shout out to Darnisha, and we were listening to it with family. I was like, I have to listen to this by myself because I'm trying to figure out like what her sound was. At first, I'm like, okay,
Same.
it's
Same.
what is this? What's happening? What are we doing? What are we doing? And then once I was driving back home to LA, I was like, oh, okay, you're on some liberation. You're on some
Yeah.
like the Renaissance. So for her to come with this concert, and I can't express the joy that I had just being there, because I felt like up until that point, I want to say from April to August, I was in a visible depression, if you will.
Mm.
And then once Beyonce, I was like, okay, this is my time to actually celebrate and create joy and be in this moment, versus not wanting to go, not wanting to, like, okay, yeah, I spent the money, but I don't feel like going. I don't feel like being around anybody. So what am I going to do? But then mustering up the courage and saying like, okay, I'm going to go get the outfit. Check. All right. I'm going to go get my hair done. Check. Like, we're going to do all these different things to get prepared to go to Inglewood, California. And she did not disappoint. Like,
No.
this woman did not disappoint. You went Friday
Hmm.
or Sunday?
I did the Friday show. Yes.
Okay. How was Friday show for you?
It was everything. I think what I really liked about it and I appreciated it, it was just for me the first time since 2020 actually going out to a concert. You know how I've been with just not wanting to be around people,
Right.
just still wearing my mask. And just like whenever I see groups of people, really that fear and that panic that came in. So it was one moment in period. And that's why I say kind of like just even just being able to enjoy that. And it felt like joy rising was a sense of being around people who just wanted the experience, wanted to have a good time. There was something too in a sense that like it felt safe in a sense that like when you
Yes.
think about masks, like crowds, you don't want to get shot or things like that, that it just felt
Hmm.
like everybody was just in a good spirit and a good mood. That's what I was looking for out of that experience, and I got it. And she didn't disappoint. I felt like she held us hostage because she has so much content that
Yes.
was good and you were entertained at so many different levels and angles. So I appreciate that, the artistry of it.
We were there for a good 2.5, 3 hours.
Yeah. And there were still songs on her playlist that I could like, she could have sung this and it still would have fit, perfectly.
I loved, okay, so I did like the fact that she came out there and not like hyped us up real quick, like simmer down.
So the crowd was so hyped. And then like I think the day our opening, because remember she didn't have any opening act, so Lil Wayne came out there. It was a DJ Khaled, did the intros and all of that, and so the crowd was already hyped. So when she came out there and she just slowed us down, when we ready to party, it was like, wait, what is she doing to us? But she had to get us like settle down, and then she gave us the experience, the dancing and all of that.
We had the same because we had I think it was DJ Khaled on Saturday as well, I think. And so we were on that high, but when she came out and then you see the smoke and I'm like, flaws and all.
She had a beautiful gown on. And I'm like, you usually do this in the middle of the set, not right now. Like,
we're sitting down.
But I think she slowed us down because once she sped up and once she came with Renaissance, it did not slow down. It did not. It didn't.
I did not sit down. I was just glued to the set, the design, her visuals, what is like all of the different messaging that was placed in that concert. I think what was your favorite part of the concert?
And Monique was there. And so that the fact that we had that experience together, that was really great. As far as Beyonce, my song for Renaissance. So I was waiting for Heated. I was mad that I didn't have my pen. I want to get my pen. So, that's my theme song. And I enjoy seeing her perform that live and really, walk around. Because she didn't give us visuals. So then when you saw her performance, like, okay, this was what she was thinking, where she was going, especially, the part I love the end when she's talking her best. Like, it really, so if you ask me, I'm going to say that was my part that I love the most, is her performing my song and also being with the people who I love and just experiencing that. I think she did a really great job at making the audience feel a part of the show.
Yes, I agree with you. Okay, so for me was Alien Superstar. When those lights
is that not your theme song? I called it for you.
When those lights turn green, and she said,
"Remember your outfit you were gonna wear?" She's like, "No, we're not doing that."
Okay, so right. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about Beyonce. I literally had this vision. And it was a 2-piece hieroglyphic, like iridescent green skirt with this little corset top. I was going to wear these lime green Nikes because I wanted to be comfortable with these green glasses. And then we get this whole post like, in honor of September, if y'all could wear this to this and the House of Chrome. I said, now, there's only like 10 places that people are about to go shop and go get these last minute outfits. But who had us? I didn't get my outfit from there, but Target had all of the silver.
Yeah, Target is stepping their game up. Yes, yeah.
They really have. They really have. What other part was so I love the incorporation. There were different things that I saw her incorporate. So during her, I'm going to take it back to Coachella. So Coachella, she had nodes of one of my favorite movies, The Wiz. I'm going to the play. So she had a few nodes of The Wiz in there. And then fast forward to Renaissance, I felt as if the circle, and with the pit being in the middle and the outskirts of it, I feel like that was a portion of The Wiz too. So I really love like her, I don't know if that's one of her favorite movies, but she pulls a lot of stuff from The Wiz into her concert series. My favorite song that she performed was America Has a Problem. I don't know what it was about, like her being in the bumblebee costume and then the DJ and then the the weird looking puffy thing of her in the back, and then like got my little shirt on. So I'm just like, that song, that beat when it comes in was amazing. And I also think Church Girl, it was, if you know that song, if you've been through some stuff and you listen to it and then you see it live, you're just, I don't know, it feels like there's a weight that's been lifted off of you when you listen to that song when she's performing it.
Mm-hmm.
It's incredible. It's incredible atmosphere. What I didn't like was there was a whole family sitting next to me and they did not stand up. Like
Mm-hmm.
they like it was golf claps. It was golf claps.
Uh-huh.
There was no dancing. There was a guy behind me was like, so we were just dancing and yelling and screaming together. And then my friends on the side of me, shout
That's
out to
what it
Jason.
felt like. It felt like a club. Everybody was
Everybody
interacting,
was into it, except this
intermingling.
woman with 5 people. I'm like, maybe these
Yeah.
tickets were gifted to them. They maybe, last minute, they just want to be in it because they see me on social media. But it was just the weirdest thing. Like they sat through every single song,
Mm-hmm.
every
Mm-hmm.
single song. But I digress. So I can't wait for if she does this Vegas thing, we have to go.
Yeah.
Like I think we have to go to Vegas.
I'm upset that, one of the things that 2023 that I didn't do, I wanted to go see Usher. I wanted to see Usher. So I'm upset that I didn't get that experience,
Yeah, I mean, and the crazy thing was when we did look at tickets, the tickets were long time ago $200-300, right? And even that's pretty
Mhm.
steep. But then those bad boys went up to 6, 7, 850. And by all means, I told you my story. Sorry, mom, but I need to be able to go see Usher. I had tickets to go see him for 8701 and I did something stupid and my parents took away my concert tickets and I was never able to see him. So we need to figure that out whenever he gets there. Like
I feel like that would have been a redo of my youth. I didn't have the funds to go see Usher, so sorry, parents. So I didn't go see Usher. So it would have been great to kind of now relive that moment and kind of now enjoy to go see him at my own leisure and not have a curfew and not have my parents buy me tickets. So like, I got
that's
this,
right.
parents.
That part.
So I think that's what I was trying to remake. And it's funny because we're in that age of like, we're going to concerts. Before, I don't know, we didn't really do it as much, but I find like we're out there now going to concerts, getting those experience, even if it's like, we've talked about I want NSYNC to come back really badly because that's another experience that I
Mhm.
didn't get to see. So yeah.
I think so. Outside of Beyonce, another highlight, which was the week after, was us going to go see our man Maxwell.
Yes. Yes. You know how I feel about him. So yeah, I don't care. I'm gonna always drag you to a Maxwell concert. We're gonna be old in our 60s, and I'm gonna be like, we're
Go.
gonna see Maxwell. Yes, like I
You
don't care how
need to
old he
get
is.
you need to
We're
go
gonna
on
see
a
Maxwell.
cruise
Yes.
and figure out like whatever cruise he's jacking up when it comes to like, what is it, Super Bowl weekend? That's the cruise with him and
Yes.
Robert Glasper. But he's always on
Mm-hmm.
somebody's cruise, so we need to go see him on a cruise for sure.
Yes.
Maxwell always puts on a good show.
Always.
He
His voice is just effortless. It's perfection almost to the point where he sounds better live than
Yeah.
he does on his actual footage because he's giving you so much like raw ad libs and stuff like that. He has a way, even though if you're in, because I've seen him before, again, this was when I was younger, in the far back, but I felt like I was the only person in that room. Like, in the concert is what I mean. So, because
Yeah.
he's just that like intentional with his vocals and what
That was he did mess up a little bit because
where did he mess up?
when he said, "What up, Atlanta?"
He did. I'm gonna need to get your location right. And then remember, because he kept intentionally putting it in there. We heard you. We heard you the first time. We heard you. Yes,
We
he
know
did.
that you know where you're at now. We know,
Yes,
okay? We know.
yes. You don't have to keep saying it every song. He did. I'm like, wait, vocally, he did not disappoint, but he did mess up on that. Yeah, okay. If I had to say this to another critique, because it was at the Hollywood Bowl, is that he did not perform all his songs.
He
He
did
did.
not. He did
I
not.
felt cheated. Love you, Maxwell, but I felt cheated. I felt like we got maybe half of his catalog, not even half, right?
I would say maybe we got 60%. I would say 60.
Yeah.
And I would say 60 because there were some things like, like ad libs and, not studio, but video visuals, right? He gave us, little visuals and stuff like that.
The band
I
was amazing live. Like, yeah, it was all of that.
Yeah, I did like Sir performing for
I
them.
was just if you didn't put him in there, I was gonna put him in there. Sir, I feel like he was really great with Maxwell as far as like kind
Mhm.
of like, that transition. And I thought like had Sir not been there, I would have felt cheated, Maxwell. Because I felt like I wanted more and I want the concert to stretch longer. I think kind of it was cut short because Hollywood Bowl, they're really strict on not letting them go
They
over
got that
time.
curfew.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
I enjoyed Sir. I thought at
it
first I
was
was like,
really
"Oh, I don't
great.
know how the crowd's gonna mix," because Maxwell's range could be, it's but there were young people there. I mean, there were people there in their 20s all the way up to, their 50s and people that had season tickets, that couple that was sitting in front of
Mhm.
us that, did golf clap. Like,
It really, yeah. It's there with their wine and
right,
cheese, right?
right, right.
Like, yes.
Hollywood Bowl is such a good place to see anything, whether it's, the
Yeah.
orchestras that come through, whether it's a hip hop concert, whether it's art, like you can see everyone there because the acoustics are so amazing. And that Trader Joe's that's down the street, you go
And
pack
that
it,
saved us. Yes.
get your wine, get your stuff, and then
Yes.
go up the hill. And the Uber, we're never driving to Hollywood Bowl again.
Never again. No.
That
Uh-uh.
was an
It
unlocked
saved this
level.
time with traffic. We got dropped off right, like at the location. It was perfect.
Yeah. We're Uber all day.
Our
We're never
next
coming back
concert
there.
we go see is going to be at the Hollywood Bowl. Depending, we have to find somebody. Yes, but we're going.
I think my last social highlight, I'm saying like all on the positive side, but my last social highlight was going to see MJ the musical.
I already knew you were going to do that because that was on my list too. And we always read each other minds, and that's it. Yes, I felt like, because I was like, was that 2024? But no, that was still 2023. We ended it off on the positive with
Yeah.
MJ the musical. And yeah, you go first because I could talk about that too. Go ahead.
You already know how I feel about MJ.
I know you like every song. You were like, oh, I was like, Jess, calm down. I hear it too. It was like, oh, he's about to do this. I was like, Jess, are you turning into those people who you can't enjoy the show? I'm like, Jess, you were amping yourself up. I didn't even have to catch you up. You had it going on.
I was so happy when you called and was like, "What are we doing tonight?"
That was just we're
And
random like that. I love it.
we're exactly. And so
Mhm.
the fact that one thing that I love the most about us is that when we want to do something, we're gonna do it.
Yeah.
We're
You
gonna
know
do
how
it.
I am. I hate planning and I hate going through, oh, put your money in the chat and all of that, trying to figure out who gonna get the tickets so we can sit by each other. I'm like, who am I sending my money to? Because I'm not planning it. I was glad to send you the money, but I'm not gonna plan it. So that was just us out. Remember, and you really saved me during the holiday because I was gonna fall into like a little depression in the sense I didn't have Liberty with me for Christmas. So I really appreciated that, like you did more than make up for it because we just had a random day and then I just sprung on you. Well, we want to go see MJ. Let's do it. Right? Mhm.
Everything worked out. I think we helped each other because I know you don't like to drive. I know that. And,
You know me well. Yes.
and
You
then
can always use my car. I'll pay for gas, right?
so I felt like we were able to really like meet each other halfway. Um, the fact that we were able to get really good seats last minute, a sold
Yeah.
out
And
show.
it was so, I was expecting because that was the first week it opened. Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
And I was like, okay, people will be dragging their feet in there to go see MJ. So I'm glad that we actually went when we did because we got the freshness of the show, not to say it like that. And also, too, I didn't expect it to be as packed as it was. And so, like, for us to get tickets like that last minute, it was just like perfect timing because you know how we are. We'll wait until the last day of the show. Like,
Mhm.
okay, we have to go because they're leaving.
Right?
So that was
Right.
perfect. Yeah. Mhm.
So going into the play, I didn't do any research prior to where they were going to, take us, but I
Same.
loved, love, love, love where they started if this is spoiler for people, I'll put something in there, but y'all just need to go see it. Like, go see
Yes,
it,
go see
okay?
it.
The original guy, he's actually touring in the UK. So the one, I don't know if he was Michael Jackson's nephew. But the original guy that they cast, he's the one that got the Tony for the play.
Okay.
So he's in the UK doing the show. But
Mhm.
going into Dangerous Tour, why this tour was so critical was that when you think about Michael Jackson's legacy, he never toured for Thriller. He did the Destiny tour. His brothers and them, like, we got to do this and that, basically essentially jacked him up when it came to his second and third degree burns on his scalp.
Yeah.
Bad, he did tour on Bad, but Dangerous was one of those albums that he wanted to produce. He wanted to get really, really creative. He wanted to show this side of him. He wanted to pull all the stunts. He wanted like every single thing. So the fact that the play got it right and the family, and the estate connected with that, I felt seen, because I'm like, okay, they're getting the story right. When I were just sitting here and they're casting someone that kind of can dance and kind of can sing. This man can dance.
Yeah,
Like,
the guy,
he
he
can
really
dance.
brought the spirit of MJ. I mean, of
Mhm.
course, you were looking for Michael Jackson there. You know how I was. Like, wait a minute. Because there was
Right.
some parts too, I will, like, if I'm critiquing, that I'm like, okay, that's not Mike. Because
Mhm.
we know Mike, we love him.
Right.
But I felt like no matter what, he gave you the spirit of Michael Jackson, in the sense that, like, the dancing and the singing and just making the story, and just how sensitive Michael Jackson was, and just
Mhm.
lighthearted and fun and carefree. He brought all of that to the, like, character. So I appreciated that.
I didn't know, there were some parts of the play that did surprise me, where I didn't know that he mortgaged his home, like Neverland, to get some of the things. I didn't know that, with all the stuff that he was asking for, they were telling him no. He's still dealing with um the different cases against him, and then on top of that, not bringing on Quincy to this project after having success with, ever since that he met Quincy back in the day when it came to the Wiz. So I loved how they took You Can't Win and put it with his getting his masters and like that whole phase to it. I also loved how they did Human Nature. Human Nature is one of my favorite Michael Jackson songs.
I
So I
felt it for
love
me.
that.
I did. I felt it.
Felt it. Did I tap you? Was I tapping you?
It was like joy rising.
Yes. Yes. That song was just, it means so much to me. But then when I knew when I got really excited, because I heard Captain EO and I was like, Quisha,
Mhm.
Captain EO, it's Captain EO. And you're like, okay.
No, I felt for you, you were waiting for Human Nature, of course.
Mhm.
Liberian Girl was one that you
Yes.
loved, but it was one that I was just like, even I was like, okay. I can't remember what song it was. And he was like, I can't believe they put it in here. And you start singing, I'm like, I got
Oh,
lip sync to this
Stranger in
point.
Moscow.
Yes. So I was like,
Yes.
I don't really know this one, but I'll lip sync it.
Yes.
Jessica, you knew everything. You did not miss a beat.
Honestly, that's one of those songs I was like, what?
Like this one, right? Because I'm like, okay, I
Yeah.
don't really, yeah.
That was a hidden one. And I like that they used Price of Fame, because there is a ballad on there, but just kind of like his different ups and downs, and then pulling that in. The woman that played his mama,
Yeah.
her vocals were out of this world.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I
Mm-hmm.
really, really enjoyed her. I enjoyed the gentleman. I have the playbook
The younger
somewhere.
one? I will have my critique in there, because you know that when they brought it back to Jackson's 5, that's one of those things that, to be that young, he was so talented in his
Oh
vocal range, Michael Jackson.
yeah.
And so then, I was feeling like the younger one, he was a little shaky with the vocals. I don't care. I'm getting on the kids. He was a little shaky with the vocals, and I found though he was really good at the moves and stuff like that. So, again, as a kid trying to, again, emulate Michael Jackson. So,
Right.
I was being a little bit harsh on him because when he sung I Want You Back, remember? I'm just like,
Hmm.
okay, he was giving us the feel or whatever, but I'm
Hmm.
like, Michael's voice was different, So yeah.
Yeah,
I had a little critique in
no,
it.
no, no, no. I agree with you. I think if
Yeah.
I'm in that situation and I'm casting people, I think I would have taken the approach of the dancing's going to be like you got to hit it.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the perfection that we're looking for. The vocals, either you won't get it, a little bit right, or they could have just dubbed it and then
Because you
they
don't expect them to when it's somebody like Michael Jackson, it sucks because you don't expect them to really, like, match that level. It's
no
the same when we saw Tina. I mean, we put Tina in there too, we saw that play.
right.
We're doing good with it with our plays, so I'm thinking
Tina's a
2024.
highlight too for 2023.
Yes, Tina was a highlight. Yes, we lost her, and then we went to go see
And
the
we went to
play,
go see the play. I mean,
right?
we didn't see Tina. We saw a version of Angela Bassett for sure. Um,
I agree. I agree. That was another one that was like, it's hard to do really Tina fully justice because she was such an entertainer. Such a, I thought the person did a great job at, again, doing the dance moves and doing all of, giving us Tina as far as like a theatrical version, but like the actual Tina, of course, like, no, but I enjoyed the show. Like, I enjoyed the story
mhm.
and, it was well put together. Yeah.
There was things, and I know we're talking about MJ. We can go back because there's like two more points I want to hit, but
I mean, because we do need to hit
right.
MJ. Yes.
Um,
Uh-huh.
but with Tina, there were things that I had no idea that she experienced. Right. I mean, there are parts of the movie, like you can go back to the movie and okay, we knew that she came from an abusive household. We knew that her husband was abusive. But that relationship between her and her mama was just insane on so many different
Mhm,
accords.
mhm,
Like
mhm.
I could only imagine why she didn't want to watch the movie because there were a couple of interviews like after her death that came out. Actually, not even her death when the
It was
HBO.
before.
What'd you say?
Remember there was an HBO interview
Yeah,
because
the
you
HBO
so
documentary that she
that
did.
was yeah,
That was really really good. And so
it
with her
was.
saying like she never wanted to see the movie, like why would she want to go see the movie? She lived that was her life.
Part of me said that would have been like triggering or even re-traumatizing to see that on film. She already lived it. She went through it. So to see it again is her reliving it. So
Mhm.
yeah.
I think though it's hard to do. I mean, it's hard to emulate anybody, right? There's few far in between people that were able to do so. So with Tina, I just wanted to bring in my bill.
Very good.
This was, I mean, just to go like right after her. I mean, we went during the summer, I would say.
So that was summer,
It was
yes.
summer, yeah,
It
because
was
she
summer.
died in May, and then we went a couple months after. But
I had been
everybody was on
begging you
her.
guys to go see Tina. Did I not? I was
Yes,
begging you
you did.
guys before then to go see it. I'm like, we have to go see it. Because I remember it stopped during the pandemic,
You
and
did.
so then they brought it back. So I'm like, oh, we need to go see this. And so, yeah, thank you again for
She
going.
and she was able to see the play. I remember seeing that in the documentary. I think Oprah
Yes,
took her. Um, yeah, Oprah
in New
took her
York,
so she
yes.
can see the play and all that good stuff, which was great. But
Mhm.
okay, let's segue back to MJ. So
So I love the fact they even brought back like they just recap when they were younger and went to Motown and all of that. I like that it wasn't just adult MJ. They gave us adult, teen, right? I would say young adult, and
mhm.
then they gave us MJ. So I love that range of just his life too. That they didn't just focus on one segment of it.
Yeah, and it was pleasant to the palate when you're switching between characters and then understanding the connection between both of inner like little Michael and then adult Michael and then the reason why he worked the way that he did. Um I felt
Yeah.
like they did a brilliant job with that. I also felt that they when it came to Thriller, so if y'all don't know, Thriller used to scare the bejesus out of me ever
Same,
since I was like 3.
same.
Um, and I had to sit through this song and like really get over my fears and all of that. But I did like their rendition of Thriller, but that scared me more because
I
they
recall
had
because
some New
remember they
Orleans
gave
stuff
us a
in there.
snippet before. I'm like, wait a minute, I felt cheated, and then they went back and they did the fuller version of it that didn't look like the video, and I
Right.
thought, yeah, it was actually scarier than the video. Like,
It,
I'm like, okay, what are we doing? Yes,
and I'm like, at first I was like, okay, this is like, okay, New Orleans. I see some
it
type of
looked
voodoo. Like
demonic.
there was some stuff in there.
It looked
Um,
demonic. Yeah.
but then I also saw that the fact that I don't know if you caught this, but they connected it with his father too. I feel like his father was Thriller.
Because remember that guy, and this is the part that was beautiful because many of them were playing multiple roles. So that guy who played his manager,
Tour manager, yep.
you need to just go see MJ. Like, we're telling people what happened. But essentially, this character was really great in a sense because he played the manager on one hand and then he played the father in the other. So then when he came on and played the dancer, you saw him in that demonic kind of role, but like it's the same character as the dad. And we recognized that at that point. So, like, yeah, it was a little foreshadowing maybe or something like
I
it
think
was
so.
definitely, yeah.
But and then I mean they did that with You Can't Win. They did that with The Price of Fame. So they took songs of his and applied it. But one part, I know I said 2 parts, 2 points I had, but one song that got me, and I think it got the entire crowd, was when Man of the Mirror started playing. I don't know what it was about that song, but it felt like a spiritual movement when that song came on.
Hmm.
Because you heard the crowd and everyone was like, oh, like, just, oh,
I think music has a way of making us
mm,
feel things, and it also, for me, more so took me back to a place in time that I think, like, like, especially where I see where in 2024 is going. Hopefully, I mean, we've seen so much wickedness in this world, and I've been speaking to
yeah,
you about that I remember during those times, it seemed like, I don't know. The 90s was much more of an innocent time. I don't know if my age is just kicking in. There was
mhm,
definitely stuff going on, but not to the point where we're at to this times. And I don't know if I see it more now because, I have a child and she's young and I'm looking at what she watched. But like to say that, like Michael Jackson, even if you thought about Heal the World, it really slowed. Like I mean, it was a time where things were a lot more like artists were really deep into causes and also to what was going on with the world, and they spoke about it in a way that we could all relate to it and make us feel something and be moved. Even what was the song from Free Willy? It's like
oh,
it took me back. So I was like, I remember this from Free Willy, right? What was it?
um,
Gosh.
Will You Be There? I'll Be there.
Yeah.
Will You Be there?
It's like,
Um,
yeah.
that song to me is so iconic. There are 3 songs from movies. There could be more, but actually no. I would say 2, and then I'm gonna throw in another one. But Michael Jackson, Will You Be There from Free Willy is up there with Beyonce's Be Alive song with King Richard,
Okay.
and her other song yeah, it is from the film, from the live action Lion King film Spirit. Lion King, but the song is called Spirit. Those
Mhm.
3 songs take me somewhere. It's
Mhm.
insane, the level of detail that you feel within those songs for sure.
Mhm.
I oh,
So overall, as we spilled Michael Jackson for everybody goes to the play, it's here till the end of January, right?
and we're going back.
We were, yes.
We're going back.
We said for my birthday, but we're gonna switch it up with another day.
You know
Yeah,
what? Even if we did that Sunday at 2 p.m., that 2 p.m.er, that might be good
yeah,
too.
that's a possibility.
Okay. From a personal standpoint, what was one highlight for you from a personal standpoint for 2023?
Well, one of my biggest things, and it's my biggest flex, I don't ever like put myself out there or like pat myself on the back, but it would be the second purchase of a home.
Let's go,
More so,
Monopoly. Let's go.
yes, it's more so because for me, it was more about like providing shelter for my mom in a
Mm.
sense that, like, experiencing homeless for anyone is not easy. So the fact that I could provide her with this space, that was very rewarding. So like it was something that of course was stressful in the process, but again, like, um that I would just say I'm very grateful, grateful for God for that.
I love that. I was so proud and excited for you. I remember when you bought your first home, and we were just super thrilled and super happy, and to know that hey, let's do it again. Okay, let's do it
Yeah.
again. Let's do it again in 2024 too. Like, what?
Exactly. Right.
Um,
I really just be like, I'm usually quiet, usually don't
mhm.
say anything. One thing again is I'm like really on your podcast and really giving you your flowers is that I appreciate you've been there for the highs. You also been there for the lows because you were there when my family went through foreclosure. So, so I appreciate you just being on that journey. Most people hear that and just not know that it came with a struggle or at a cost. So like, that wave and you've been there for me on that. So yeah,
You
it's
already
really
know.
great when I have a friend like you and I can say that to you too. And the struggles you've been through. So yeah.
And you know the struggles I've been through too. So we we know.
Yeah.
And I always got you. One of the I want to say I for this year personal, it was me celebrating my sisters. So Vivica turning 21,
Yes.
Layla graduating high school, and then Erica getting married,
Yes.
and then Erica being pregnant. And she's about to give birth this year.
You did not tell me that.
Um,
This is
oh,
news. This
oh,
is
Erica's pregnant.
this is news. Yes. Aw.
Yeah.
I'm
No, I mean, I'm always the auntie. Um,
Yes.
right. It's my first sibling. Um, baby Opal. We're gonna call her baby Opie.
That's
She's
so
about to
cute.
be my main squeeze. Due in April, and mom and dad are just super super happy. I'm feel joy rising. Right, we're gonna keep that. I think that's gonna be the title of this podcast. Is
I
joy
actually
rising.
took that from somewhere, but I'm gonna just coin it for myself tonight.
Okay. Okay.
I'm taking it from Lady O.
Okay.
So this is like something Oprah was saying.
Joy rising. Like it feels like she would put that emphasis on it.
Yes.
Yeah, I think those are the three major things. I feel like majority of the year I was I was on fumes of just trying to do things for others. And then God had me in an isolation portion for I want to say maybe 4 to 5 months for to just block out some of the noise, block out some of the distractions. And yeah, I mean, again, coming back and seeing now in 2024, like, okay, so how do we set those intentions to where if we do find us trying to quiet the chaos or the noise, like what are some things that we can set now so we can pull back to our toolbox when it comes to like, oh, okay, I feel like a depression coming. I feel that there's a shift in the atmosphere. All right, so what are those things that we can do? So for 2024, okay, wait. Do we want to talk about Cat?
If we are, what are we going to like? Because I feel like we can go in there, but it can go so many directions. I don't want to talk about TD. I think if we put Diddy in there, it's just being controversial.
Mm-mm.
So I feel like what are the good points we can take out of there?
I have
Other
a
than
good point.
I stand with Cat, I stand with him. But what can we like?
So I think with Cat Williams, okay, so let's talk about the facts. Okay, let's talk about the facts. The facts, one fact, 2 hours and 46 minutes. Okay,
Let's
fact
start.
one.
Yeah, I feel like let's just go there, but let's look at it from an entertaining point.
Right,
So this is where we
two
end.
hours and
We're gonna do
46
it.
minutes.
Going into yes.
Club Shay Shay. Shannon Sharp he's had this show, I want to say, for about 4 or 5 months. Um, The things that
Wow, I
Cat
thought it was longer.
no, so
All of his
he
guests, yeah.
yeah, he's well, it could be longer, but this all of Shannon Sharp's stuff has come out of the fact that he left him and Skip's show. He joined Stephen A. Smith. He's been able to host a couple of
Yes.
the shows on ESPN when Stephen A. Smith has been absent. He started Unk and another kind of podcast, and then he has Club Shay Shay. So knowing all of that in the past, this happened? Almost 3 or 4 days ago. There have
Yes, Club
been
Shay Shay did not disappoint.
no,
Did not disappoint.
absolutely not. To the point where I watched it a second time. I watched the interview a
I
second.
did too. I couldn't help myself. I just sat down like, wait, did I really hear what I heard? Like,
Right,
I sat back and
right,
watched it again. And we're talking about Cat Williams, right?
right, exactly.
Yes.
And the funny thing was when I watched it the second time, my sister was braiding my mama's hair, and so I said, "Mommy, put me on FaceTime and turn the camera so I can watch it with you." Like that's how entertaining it was. But what I gained from Cat Williams is he wasn't drunk on the show. He wasn't on anything or didn't appear to be on anything. He was very calm. He didn't come there with, and some people, are going to disagree. I didn't think he came there with the bitter mentality. I think he came there with somebody pissed him off on this platform, and he had to set the record straight. And a
Right.
lot of those things that he said, you got to think about it. Friday After Next came out 20 some odd years ago. So for him to come out and say things about it, and they've been trying to put together another Friday, but then you got to think of all the people that have passed away from the original one.
Yeah.
That's hard to do when that's an iconic Black film with that cast. I love the fact that you can see that he was very guarded when it came to his childhood. But the fact that he was talking about it, I love the fact that he talked about his kids and why, going
That
into
was
not
a really good piece for me to see with him, with all the bad press
with
that
the
has
kids.
there, and we don't know if it's true or not. Like he said, where's the evidence on it?
Right.
But where's the evidence that like he's a good father? Those narratives are not put out there, and intentionally, I think too. Like, because again, like I find like on one hand, it's the thing to have your kids sheltered, but also too, we're not saying this is a Black guy who has 10 kids, he adopted 7, and he's taking care of them. Like, I'm gonna praise that.
Mm-hmm. And I think now it's that piece. It's more pieces. Like I didn't know he owned his own companies, right? Like all of the different marketing. Like there's no big conglomerate that's going behind him to promote him. Like he's done all of it, and he stands on business because every special that I have watched, he's always talked about what's going on in that person's city, where he's at, and he's always talked about current events. So his audience, there's range. Like he doesn't have a Black audience or a white audience or Latino. Like everybody comes to go see Cat Williams. 1,000%. There were a few things that I think there were enhancements. We're gonna call them.
Some embellishments. You know what? When Ice Cube came out and said he was 100 on most stuff, except for,
Yeah,
he said on that whole rape scene or whatever, I
right.
felt like, again, Ice Cube doesn't have to come out or say anything, but for him to come and back him on this part, at least the part of the movie and about the roles and, how they expanded on it. So was telling the truth, you can't discount everything he's saying because, you don't believe it or whatever. So I do feel like underneath there, again, there was moments where he was definitely upset, where he said he could have punched Cedric in the stomach. I had to go back and watch that because he stood up. No conviction. I was like, wow. It felt like a comedy special because the way he was hitting him with them jokes, it was so natural for him. I didn't know after that interview where he roasted Wanda, I didn't know her last name was Smith, but when he roasted her, because I remember when that came out, I think I shot it to you, I didn't
Yeah.
know all that fallout had happened from him being funny. I didn't know about her husband and all of that stuff. So like, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there were so many different nuggets, and then you have to go back and think like, dang, like, okay, Kat, what didn't you say?
Yeah.
Like for
Yeah.
2 hours and 40, I don't
I
know
know.
what didn't you say?
What I love though is we have to give Shannon Sharp his credit on that interview.
Oh yes.
I felt like he could have been more prepared because you're a journalist, and so I know kind of like you come with your notes and you come with your fact checking and all of that in that moment. So I
Hmm.
felt like he was more so there. Kind of how I feel about Shannon. He was putting a little gas on it. Come on, come on, Cass.
Oh, Kat,
He won't have to
oh,
say it.
Kat,
Come
I
on,
did it.
Cat.
Kat,
Cat, you can't say that.
you
And
better, Kat.
Cash will say it. So I'm like, you getting the content you need because we watched that 2 hours, right?
We watched it, okay? We
Not a
watched
dry
it.
moment.
I was like, the clips, I'm not watching the clips. I need to see the
Yeah,
whole thing. I need to see
I
the whole
know,
thing.
right?
So, and it's funny because he had a stack of cards. He had a whole stack of cards, and that
You
man
might
kept
as well
always have
just
those
toss them
cards.
out.
I said, you go ahead and put those cards down. Put the cards
Yes.
down, okay? Put them down
Mhm.
because
Yeah.
he's not. There's he and it was crazy because I think growing up and knowing my parents, I was having this conversation with my mom that I was telling her, I was like, I remember vividly that you and, family members were talking about Kings of Comedy and like why they call themselves the Kings of Comedy. They didn't include Eddie Murphy. They didn't include Martin Lawrence. Like they
Yeah.
didn't, why are they calling themselves that? And then to connect the dots and say like, Bernie never really liked Steve Harvey. I do remember that. But then for them to
Mhm.
call Kat and say like, oh, we want you to be a part of the Kings of Comedy. That's
Yeah.
absurd.
Uh-huh. I didn't know any of that. Yeah. That was all new to me. And I do remember around that time, there was so much argument about like that title too. Like you said, like
Mhm.
my mom, her generation is always going to be Richard Pryor. I will say my generation is split. Everybody loved Martin or whatever, but my favorite is Chris Rock.
Chris Rock. Yep.
Right. I love me some Chris Rock. I will say I have been jumping more so on Chappelle. I love Chappelle's style and all of that. But I find every generation is going to have more of their people. I feel like you kind of definitely love their like cater to like Kevin Hart so much so. But there's even debate in that. So yeah, I think when
Yeah.
you put that title on there, it's always going to be that argument, Eddie versus and all these other comedians.
I think so. And I think if I look at like my favorite comics, I love because there's categories, right? So like I'll put Mike Epps, Cat Williams, and Kevin Hart. I've seen all of them live. Like I love that, like that cluster.
Mm-hmm.
And then I love, new comics like Tony Baker and Kevin Gentry. Like I love those folks as well. And they're that like all of those folks are in their cluster too. But it's different, right? It's different when you go and you see people in movies and then you see them live and then the internet
Right.
and then podcasts. So I feel like everyone has a lane that they can swim in.
Yeah.
But it just sucks that you do have people that they're bitter, they're jealous, they're haters, whatever. Because can you imagine if like how Shaq put on it was a similar version to Def Comedy Jam Comic View, but he had what was it,
The
Comic
All
All
Star.
Stars,
Yeah.
like in the early
Mm-hmm.
2000s or kind of like late 2010, 2011.
Mm-hmm.
And those shows were hilarious. I mean, Kevin
Yes, I
Hart
did.
hosted one. I believe Mike Epps hosted one. So it's like you have that. Imagine if they could put their differences aside
Right.
and go and do something that large. Everybody would get
Right.
paid. And we would be there.
Mm-hmm.
We should.
Mm-hmm. There was one comedian I always thought he was he was underrated, and I loved his show was Mark Curry because
Yeah.
I love him from hanging with Mr. Cooper. Obviously, that's my youth, and that's when times were innocent. But I like that he spoke on him in a sense that I don't think kind of like we really see him in that lane, that same lane. But he is. He's really funny, talented. Because I've seen some of his shows too, recordings back in the day, and he's
Mhm.
funny. So I like that he actually kind of gave, him his props in a sense to say that he helped him with his joke. And he also had to bring up the part that being Steve Harvey stole the idea of his show. I just said, damn. But okay. I'm gonna trust your word, Cat. You was there, was it? I was like,
Say, wait a minute. And the funny thing was, I'm literally rewatching the Steve Harvey Show as we speak. I'm on
but
season
did you
2.
ever watch Hanging with Mr. Cooper growing up?
Now I gotta go back. I gotta go back.
Okay, because I watched that show growing up, and when Kat showed me that, I was like, it's the truth. Like, I mean, we can't say half of his like he wasn't telling the truth. I mean, you could go back and watch the show, same premise.
Yeah, this is true. You know, it's crazy too because now everybody that he talked about, yeah, people have responded, but they didn't say he was lying. And that part, I I I don't know. Because if
Yeah.
somebody was talking about you and if they were gonna mess up your brand and all of that,
Well, you can always sue. Remember, that's the argument. How come he hasn't been
defamation, yeah, true, or slander, whichever
right?
one.
He has not been sued.
But exactly, there's been no one. They might have talked about little things, but it hasn't been something where it's so detrimental, which is really interesting. So I'm like, again, what else? What didn't he say? Because he said he does a pillow talk. There was a comic that did come out and confirm his story of giving people wads of cash if the venue wasn't going to basically pay them and then take them on the road, so that way they can make their money. So I absolutely love that. I absolutely love
Hmm. Hmm.
him shouting out the young comics too, like
Right, right.
DC, Young Fly, and Chico, and 85 South. Like all them cats are incredibly talented, incredibly funny, and in a lane of
Even
their own.
advocating for the female artists too, or whatever, that point too. Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree. That was in there as well. I think he gave us enough content for the rest of this month, but we just got started. So it's going to be interesting to see where it goes.
Hmm. Yeah, it will be. Okay. Well, we did it. We did. I think we did okay with that subject. Well, I it's so funny because we said 45 minutes and it's been an
Yeah,
hour,
here.
but
She's
it
been
went by
good.
so fast.
I know it did. I feel like we need to do a whole little another piece
We do.
too.
We do. So what's one thing that you want to because I posted about soft goals. So what's one soft goal that you want to practice in the month of January?
Just to be more disciplined. I think that's the really big thing that's been lacking. Really, for since 2020, we had to
Mhm.
refigure out what our lives look like. I've been working home since then, which has been a blessing, but it also been a curse in disguise because I've been so lax in other areas and taking things for granted. I think for me, the biggest soft goal would be to just be disciplined and be structured and making sure that, again, if that's in place, I know all the other stuff will align.
I love that. I love that and I love that for you. I think for me it's be consistent. I always get off to like really great starts and then something will happen and then I'm like, okay, well, I'll just put that there versus like being consistent, even if I don't want to do it. If I don't want to, like, I feel like that when I go to the gym, I'm like, okay, I gotta go. Oh gosh, I have to do work and stuff. Like I got a walking iPad. I got a walking pad now, so I can put that underneath my standing desk so I can get my 30 minutes in of walking. But then just being grateful to being able to lift and go to the gym. Like I want to practice in that
Yes.
mindset versus like, oh, I have to go do this.
I was
Like,
just gonna say that for you, change that mindset and
right.
change your approach to it in the sense that it's not that you have to, you get to, and it's
Hmm.
not just to reframe that for you too. And I'm happy that you have that and that you got that going on for yourself. Yeah.
Well, yeah, we're gonna have to do a part two. You know what? Yeah, we're definitely gonna have to do a part two because this was just too good.
We have a calendar monthly,
Right,
monthly.
right.
Just check in with Dr. L. Just go ahead and
Check in with
check in
Dr.
with
L.
Dr. L. Yes.
I like it. I'm here for it.
All
I'm
right.
here for it. I'm here for it. Again, Dr. L, thank you so much for being on OK, and I love you. Um, Such a great episode. So y'all stay tuned. All these goodies are coming your way. Until next time, peace.